All right. Hope everyone had a nice Thanksgiving for those that celebrate. Going to do a weekend market update and go through a number of different things today. So the agenda is as follows. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin. I hear a lot of conflicting thoughts at this point of where we are and specifically in terms of where, if and when we're going to get some type of material pullback now and some targets I'm hearing for that. Why I don't believe that's the case. I think this is classic wall of worry and misrecognition of the energy that has come into the consolidation that we're now leaving. We've left in the month of November. Um, we're going to look at Bitcoin dominance to give us some clues, some pieces of the puzzle. We're going to look at CME to give us some pieces of the puzzle. We're going to look at my low time frame count, speculative count. We're going to look at the Bitcoin miners. We're going to look at the Bitcoin miners denominated in Bitcoin. And I think that's good. I think that's a good agenda for the members. You all have been getting periodic daily, every other day updates on some of the names that we track, specific names that we track in the mining sector, some altcoins, ETH, some stocks I started coverage on a year ago, and some stocks I've started coverage on recently, and so we'll continue those, continue the members videos updates, and so with that, let's get started. So what I'm looking at here is a weekly chart of market dominance, BTC market cap dominance. Basically, in essence, this is its market cap related to the entire crypto ecosystem and its market cap. So the percentage of the total that Bitcoin constitutes at any given time. The theory being once dominance in a bull trend, once dominance starts going down, okay, so like let's look at these areas here. What happened, in terms of the relative price of altcoins in this period? Well, let's go back to December 2017 to January, through January of 2018. I wasn't really around for that in the crypto ecosystem. I only discovered Bitcoin in 2020, but altcoins I've heard went pretty ballistic. And then I was around and I did participate in some altcoins, some pairs that look good to me around, this February, March to May of 2021. Altcoins outperformed. Now, again, let me just say, right, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't take what I'm saying as financial advice. Long term, there's only one thing I put my net worth allocated to, and that is Bitcoin. Altcoins, my belief are scams, most of them. I could be wrong. I don't have enough hours research like I do into Bitcoin, and I believe long term, 99% of them go to zero against Bitcoin. That being said, I do believe there are periods in time when, for a speculative, gamble, or whatever you want to call it, that they can potentially outperform in a short window. Are we entering that window right now? I don't know. I don't know. But what I do know is this, is when that window was entered, the last two previous times, the 30-week moving average was very indicative of, or was a leading indicator in terms of the move that was to come. And we don't really have that set up right now. That's not to say that we can't have this set up soon, or that certain altcoins won't outperform. That's not what this means. Or that altcoins won't outperform at all. Right? All this is saying is that in an environment where, so here's our 30-week. Here's where we are now, right? We got a flip of the 30-week back in January 2023. That first flip of the 30-week, essentially after this accumulation, right? This is a Wyckoff accumulation schematic, folks, right? Spring, test, LPS, SOS, and now this is expansion. That's what we're looking at, okay? And I've got the 30-week up to illustrate the trend analysis, right? Stage 2 downtrend, stage 1 basing, stage 2 uptrend. And right now we're in a stage 2 uptrend. We're far along in the stage 2 uptrend, and we've had one flip and then our first check back. Okay. Our first flip to the 30-week on dominance produced a 2x move in Bitcoin. That happened. Our second test of the 30-week undercut it, 1 week close under it, and then a reclaim produced another 2x in Bitcoin. And this is the third time that we've got to check back to the 30-week. Right now we're hovering above it. It doesn't mean that this is Ving to the top of this. No. I mean, anything could happen here. It can consolidate, it can fail, it could just lose this channel. The whole, right, this whole channel could be ending here. We don't know. All I do know is that the highest probability in my mind is at a minimum, a 2x move in Bitcoin based on what this data shares with us, right? Now, obviously, the past does not guarantee anything, but the confluence amongst all the different things I share with you is why I'm also sharing this with you. We'll also see that dominance, right, came back and hit the RSI midline at 50 once, twice, and this is the third time on a weekly it's happening. And coincidentally, not coincidentally, this happened right where these 30-week checkbacks occurred. Okay, folks? And then the last thing I'll point to you is because I see a lot of dominance charts that people are claiming are looking really bullish right now. I don't know. I just don't see it. And I could be wrong too. The way I'm interpreting this could be wrong, and I'll show you how. Um, so this is dominance. This is a downtrend all the way back since its inception. This is an uptrend channel and a stage 2 uptrend. This is a breakout and a check back to the downtrend line, DTL. That's where we are right here. And continuation needs to be in an uptrend. That's the bias. And so this just tells me a lot of people are positioned in altcoins over Bitcoin. That's all that tells me is that there's a strong bias in the market right now where that is the prevailing thought. Now, where I'm wrong is you get this check back, and you can see this too, and you get an undercut, and then you get a failure, right? Where it's kind of a fake out, a little deviation fake out. And so we'll see. I just think the bias here needs to be in the bias always needs to be in the direction of the trend, the sloping of the 30-week. And so I think this tells us the next move is underway with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is going to lead the pack. It's not to say that the altcoins are going to get shellacked. This is just telling me that the Bitcoin is going to lead the way, and there's a big move, and it's imminent. Whether that's this week, next week, 2 weeks, whatever, 3 weeks, we'll find out. All right, next, the CME chart also is telling me a story. I'm seeing a lot of people. I'm getting some questions on, hey, where could we check back to? What's the check back? We shouldn't check back anywhere. We shouldn't check back anywhere. CME is showing us a classic breakaway gap. What is a breakaway gap? Breakaway gap is this picture I'm illustrating right here, right? Where after a long period of a consolidation, you get this gap in price, and it starts at the end of the consolidation. That's why it's called the breakaway gap. And if it's truly a powerful trend, you don't see any tests or closing of that gap. You see a breakaway gap, you see a little consolidation after, you see a runaway gap, which is a continuation pattern, and then you see an exhaustive, you could potentially see. These are things that you can potentially see. An exhaustion gap, and these are just different kinds of gaps. That's what this image is illustrating. Not that they have to happen after a breakaway gap. You see a runaway gap, and after a runaway gap, you see an exhaustion gap. This is an image that's illustrating where these gaps occur and what they're called. And when people are always expecting a gap to fill, the most common gap to get filled is some type of exhaustion gap, right? Breakaway gaps don't get filled until the primary high time frame wave count is over. What does that mean? That means, right? So if you got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we get right? You get a breakaway gap here. That's not getting filled until, right, A, B, C. That's not getting filled for on a high time frame for a long time. For a long time. And so that's the context at which I'm presenting this chart. And so here, what do we have here? We have a very, very strong rectangle type pattern, this breakaway gap. We've been consolidating for 1, 2, 3 weeks now. And so again, anything to the low 80s is a sign of weakness. That's a sign of weakness. That's a sign of weakness of this breakaway gap. And so that's another reason in which I don't see any major checkbacks. What do I see? Only thing I'm looking at from a count perspective is what I'm illustrating here. Okay, where coming out of coming out of our correction, the major 7, 8 month consolidation, we had, and remember I kept saying this, folks, 1, 2, 3 into a first impulse. And this is where a lot of accounts, a lot of Elliott wave experts, I don't consider myself an Elliott wave expert, but a lot of Elliott wave experts got caught flat-footed and misread the beginning of this expansive move is because, rules are rules. Rules are rules, but algos know all the rules. Okay, algorithms know the rules. AI knows all the rules. And so how would you shed speculators from a market with all the technology there is? You break the rules. You break the rules. And the market makers and the exchanges can break the rules. They have more Bitcoin than we do. And so we now see in the market far more three-legged first impulses. Whereas Elliott wave, technically, a motive or impulsive wave is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. But we got one that was disguised with 3 to start our first impulse. And then what I'm calling an A, B, C, flat correction. And then we come into this minor one, A, B, C, just a series of running flats, folks. 3, potentially A, B, C, potentially, I say, because we won't know until after the fact. Or this could be working on, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is 3. And we've got A, B, and then one more C leg down into next week that gets us into the 90, high 80s prior to the move up. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care. There's nothing actionable in this. I'm not trading Bitcoin. You trade Bitcoin, you're going to end up with less Bitcoin. All this is just managing expectations. That's all I'm doing when I'm presenting these potential pathways, and you'll notice that they change too, right? Because I got a lot of this move right up to here, and then here you've been seeing and hearing me change the view the last few videos, right? Because this is evolving in a way that I haven't been able to project the last week or so. That's the way it is. I'm not going to be able to project short term 50% probably more of the moves. All right. So then why doesn't it not matter to me? Because again, the target is this green box. Whether we get there next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, that doesn't matter. The target, a minimum target here is 137, 140 to 150, 160. And so it's just a matter of whether it's the path C is going to take another 2 weeks. That's the way I'm looking at it. But when I'm looking objectively at the energy in this entire move, even just the energy in even just energy of 2 impulse, right? Into here, again, that gets you to 150. Energy into this 2 impulse. Let's just do this. This impulse into 3, the way I have it drawn here, the energy of that coming out of this entire consolidation from where we are now gets us to 137. From a leg lower gets us to 125. 125 before consolidation, and then another leg up. Okay. So that's the way I'm looking at the low time frame. The miners, loving what we're seeing with the miners, folks. Loving it. I know we do a lot of the individual names on the members videos as we do individual stocks and other things outside of Bitcoin, some altcoins. But WGMI is just the easiest way for me on the weekend market update to project what the market's doing because it's a basket of the most common Bitcoin miners. And so what do we have going on here? First, let's just take a look at what previous local tops look like. Okay, let's just look at them. Okay, let's look at them. Let's look at them. Let's look at them. Okay, and let's look at this. Let's look at that structure. What do we see something different? We do. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 days priced back to the range highs. And we see what looks to be like a flag formation. Okay. Flag formation. And by the way, it broke out on Friday. Yeah, I know we don't like the close, but I don't really, I'm not messing around with, 4-hour candles to shape my macro analysis. So what? I'm glad. I hope people sold at the end of the day there Friday, and then maybe we gap up tomorrow. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 distribution really was. This is what this was. What was this, folks? That's a Wyckoff distribution. That's an upthrust, and that's a test. Sign of weakness, breakdown. Okay, distribution. What do we have here? Same thing, right? Range, deviation, range lows, test. Okay. What do we have here? I mean, it wasn't enough to even be calling this anything, right? Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Point being that the character of this this previous consolidation, mind you, at these all-time highs for WGMI at all-time highs is massively bullish. Where was the most volume ever traded for this indice? It's this node right here. It's where we jumped off of Wednesday, was it? Wednesday of last week, 25. And so let's throw the monthly chart up since the monthly closed on Friday. Let's do this. Let's do that. Get rid of that squiggly. And what do we see? We see the highest monthly close ever for the indice. Okay. We also see, let me do this with the bearish order block. Okay. The monthly bearish order block is highlighted in green. All right, folks, where did we close on Friday? The monthly close, where did it close? And when I say bearish monthly order block, this is a massive order block. This one is all the way back. What does that mean, order block? That means in March 2022, after this indice opened up, you had so much selling that, in fact, the market completely reversed from that point, okay? All the way down, attempted to get back up to this area where those sellers offloaded, couldn't. So then it rejected for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now we're back up and over it. Okay. That is massively bullish. Massively bullish. You're talking about an order block that goes back 2.5 years. The implications of that monthly close are massive. And so, let's go to the weekly. On a weekly time frame, let me just throw a line up, right, just to give you some effect here, right? We are working on, massive head and shoulders, local head and shoulders, breaking out, right? I mean, you got this just, right? I mean, the targets are much higher than where we are, folks. They're much higher than where we are. I would not be surprised to see 2, 3x move in some of these miners through the next month and a half, 2 months. So So that's what we like to see. Then Bitcoin denominated in WGMI. On a daily chart, our demand zone, our important must hold zone was here, here, failed here, deviation, held here, and it held here. Okay. And we snap back off of it. I'm looking for that type of move. And in this move, in this environment with Bitcoin, getting to 150, 200 potentially plus in 2025, the miners in this environment do a 4 or 5x easily. Easily, if this happens, if this relationship I'm mapping out with Bitcoin denominated in the miners plays out. Folks, that's it for the video. Hope you all have a great rest of the weekend. Members, keep throwing me some requests. I try to get to most of them. I do have a day job, so I'm very, very busy. So again, if I don't get to them, I apologize. Feel free to nag me again and say, hey, Koosh, did you get a chance to look at this? That is not a problem with me. You are not going to frustrate me at all. If I don't get to a comment back, it's because I either didn't see it or saw it and got distracted in something with my day job. And so that's what's going on. Take care, folks. Appreciate all the support.